It started like far too many stories in America, with flashing lights, raised voices, and a black man being forced to the ground for no clear reason. The officers didn't ask questions. They made assumptions. Within minutes, he was in handcuffs, surrounded by suspicion. But what happened next was something no one, not even the officers, could have imagined. Just 5 minutes after the arrest, his phone rang inside the patrol car. The caller? The office of the President of the United States. The officers froze. One of them stared at the screen, blinking in disbelief. "White House," he muttered, showing it to his partner as if expecting confirmation that it was some elaborate prank. But it wasn't. The man in handcuffs, still catching his breath from being shoved into the back seat, lifted his head. "That call's for me," he said calmly, his voice steady but cold. They ignored him at first, but then the phone rang again, this time from a secure line with a government code neither officer recognized. Reluctantly, one of them answered. "Agent Daniels," the voice on the line said, crisp and authoritative. "You're currently detaining Marcus Hill. Release him immediately and hand the phone to him, now." The officer's face drained of color. He looked at the man in the back seat, the man they had assumed was just another nobody walking through the wrong neighborhood. But Marcus Hill wasn't just anybody. He was a cybersecurity genius, recently contracted by the federal government to prevent a massive data breach targeting national infrastructure. A breach that could cripple hospitals, airports, and power grids. And just 15 minutes before the arrest, he had sent an encrypted access key to the Pentagon. Without it, the defense systems would stay locked down. The arrest hadn't just been a mistake. It was a national threat. "Sir," the officer mumbled, fumbling with the door. We need to let you go." Marcus stepped out, dusted off his shirt, and stared at them. Not with anger, but with something colder. Disappointment. "You don't even know what you almost cost this country." Then, phone in hand, he walked away, toward the unmarked black SUV that had just pulled up at the end of the block, its driver already holding the door open. The SUV door slammed shut behind him, sealing him off from the chaos outside. Inside, a woman in a dark suit handed him a secure phone. "Marcus, you good?" a voice asked. It was the president's chief of staff. "Not really," Marcus replied, rubbing the red marks on his wrists. "I just got tackled by 2 local heroes who thought I was breaking into my own building." There was a pause. "We're aware. The president is furious. We're preparing a statement." "Don't," Marcus cut in. "This isn't about saving face. This is about fixing the system. I don't want an apology. I want accountability." The SUV sped through the city, escorted now by 2 black Suburbans with tinted windows. News hadn't broken yet, but it would. And when it did, the country wouldn't be able to look away. A black man wrongly arrested in broad daylight, who just happened to be one of the country's most valuable assets. Back at the station, the 2 arresting officers were already being pulled into an emergency internal affairs review. But it was too late. Marcus had already sent a live signal, a backup protocol he'd programmed in case he was ever silenced. It was broadcasting encrypted pieces of his experience, audio, GPS, even the live footage from nearby traffic cams, directly to a cloud drive monitored by 3 separate watchdog agencies. Marcus wasn't just a cybersecurity genius. He was a whistleblower. And the arrest? It wasn't random. He leaned back in the seat, eyes scanning the skyline. "How much do you know about the Liberty Directive?" he asked the agent next to him. The agent looked uneasy. "That's above my clearance." Marcus gave a dry laugh. "It's above the president's, too." The car turned sharply. Behind them, A drone appeared in the rearview mirror, following at a distance. Someone was listening. The drone wasn't standard military issue. Marcus recognized the signature flicker in its navigation lights. It was private and custom built. "Pull into the underpass," Marcus ordered. The driver hesitated. "That's not the plan. I designed that drone," Marcus said flatly, 3 years ago, for a private contractor who doesn't exist on paper. Trust me. Pull into the underpass, kill the engine, and jam the signal." The SUV swerved off the freeway and coasted into the shadow of a long-forgotten maintenance tunnel. The moment they stopped, Marcus popped open a compartment in the armrest. A hidden terminal, secure and offline. He plugged in his drive. Lines of code filled the screen, tracking pings, location spikes, decrypted metadata from the drone. He narrowed his eyes. "They're not just watching me," he murmured. "They're tracking everyone I've spoken to in the last 72 hours, including 3 senators, 2 journalists, and the director of the National Cyber Defense Unit." The agent beside him went pale. "You think this goes beyond the police?" he asked. Marcus didn't answer. He just turned the screen toward him. It displayed a list of flagged names. Half of them were already marked disavowed. One of them had a red tag, termination in progress. It was his sister. "No," Marcus whispered, a cold fury rising in his chest. He yanked the drive out and turned to the agent. "We're not going to the White House." "Then where?" "We're going to the media. All of them. Every network. Every live stream. I want the truth in the hands of the people before someone decides I'm next." The drone passed overhead, scanning. But the SUV was dark, silent, shielded, at least for now. Outside the tunnel, the city buzzed as if nothing had changed. But something had. And for the first time in his life, Marcus Hill, the man they underestimated, profiled, tried to erase, had the full attention of a nation. He just had to survive long enough to use it. Marcus stood in front of a camera in an anonymous studio. Small, bare, the kind of place built for moments that can't afford to be tracked. His face was lit by a single soft light. Behind him, a plain black backdrop. He looked calm, but his heart was pounding. A live stream was being prepped. Not just for one platform, for all of them. A patchwork of independent journalists, rogue coders, and whistleblower networks had come together in record time to make this moment possible. He didn't clear his throat. He didn't rehearse. He just looked directly into the lens. "My name is Marcus Hill. I was arrested today for walking while black." That's what they saw. What they didn't see, or maybe didn't care to see, was that I was working to prevent a nationwide cyber attack. One that's been covered up for years, protected by layers of fake contracts and backroom deals. He held up the drive. "This contains proof of illegal surveillance programs, black budget projects, and targeted disinformation campaigns against our own citizens, especially activists, journalists, and people of color. Some of these programs were sanctioned by people whose names you know, some by people you've never heard of, but they all operate under a lie that you can be protected by those who do not respect your rights." The screen shifted to documents, code, leaked footage, damning evidence broadcast live to millions. Across the country, notifications lit up like wildfire. Hashtags erupted. News anchors were caught off guard mid-broadcast. Protests began forming within hours. But Marcus didn't stop there. He leaned in. "I'm not here to destroy the system. I'm here to show you it was already broken. Now you get to choose what we build in its place." He ended the stream. Seconds later, the studio was evacuated. A black vehicle had been spotted nearby, No license plate, windows tinted beyond legal limits. But Marcus was already gone. A decoy. The real Marcus Hill was boarding a private plane at a hidden airstrip outside D.C., headed toward an undisclosed location, protected by people who believed in what he stood for. He looked out the window as the ground shrank beneath him. For the first time in weeks, he felt something unfamiliar, hope, because it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of them. The footage of his arrest became a symbol, not just of racism, but of the quiet rot behind the curtain of security. Investigations were launched. Resignations followed. The president, cornered by public outrage, signed the Liberty Transparency Act into law, inspired by the very directive used to silence whistleblowers. And though Marcus remained in the shadows, his name became something else entirely. A spark,